2022. What will stay and what will go?
This is bound to be our most heated conversation of this season, all here on this episode of Breakfast and Combos. Good morning. I am Liberty White, video marketing specialist.
And I am T. Adeola, digital marketing expert.
T, I'm ready for the throwdown. I'm ready
Yeah,
for
yeah,
this
yeah. It
throwdown
should be
because
one for the
we
books.
I think we've kind of sprinkled some of this out in some of our episodes of where we think
Mhm.
people are going, but where the marketing space is going. But this is us bringing it all together in this next 30 minutes.
Absolutely. And, tis the season. It's that time of year where people start placing their bets and making predictions. And then we'll come back to it at this time of year, next year and see, what actually panned out, what didn't. Needless to say, very few people ever bat 1,000 because, time is a curious thing. But based on what we saw in 2021, we have enough to, give some
Right,
educated guesses
right.
about what we expect to happen in 2022.
I'm looking forward to it. But before we get to that, you were in the A this weekend, and I'm sorry that
A
I missed you and I missed Hotep. I have to give him a call, but talk to us about the awards program this weekend.
Yeah. So this past weekend on November 20th was the Bold Visionary Leadership Conference, hosted by Hustle University. My big brother, my Obi-Wan Kenobi, one Hotep. And it was a transformational, that's not a word, transformative. I think that's the actual word, but whatever, grandiose gesture you want to put to it, it was all that in a bag of chips. They put me to work. So that happened because, I ain't go there to work, but that's what ended up happening. It's kind of like, you go to church and then, the main usher don't show up or somebody who was supposed to do this, they didn't show up on time. And next thing you know, you got the job. Right. So I was stuffing
But that just
folders and
shows that you are trusted, that you
Mhm.
execute. We know these things because you show up outside of breakfast and convos, you show up. So it's a good thing.
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, it's good to be the go-to person. Plus, anyone who's done live events, y'all know stuff happens, right? Like it that
Always.
that that comes with the territory. So I was happy. It was a privilege and an honor. But yes, 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 it was so good to see the team in person because this was actually the first time I met a lot of the team in person. Like I've known Hotep for years. I've known Hotep for 7 going on 8 years, but everybody else like Candace and this is my first time meeting them. And
Okay.
so it was great to see Studio Stephanie and all because Hotep only rolls with heavy hitters. Not to
Only.
sound, not to pat myself on the back too much, but Hotep only rolls with heavy hitters. So the team was official. And
Nice.
it was we Hotep has the unique ability to be confrontational without being combative. He's
Okay.
gifted at it because he can have conversations that a lot of people can't have, but he does it in such a way where you feel affirmed, you feel heard, you feel understood.
Yeah.
And yes, you may have just gotten beat up, but you got beat up in a good way. It's kind of like after you go to the gym, it's like leg day, right? You hate leg day because you about to get that behind spanked, but you feel good after leg day because
It's
you
necessary.
yeah, it was necessary, and you're stronger. You're
Right.
stronger. You're looking at yourself in the mirror, flexing your little calves, like okay, okay, see
And
that. But it was outstanding, and it's always great to fall back through my old stomping grounds. Got to see my youngest son for a little bit, and my
oh,
cousins and
awesome.
some
I
family
saw the
friends.
pictures. I live vicariously through just even though I wasn't in town, so I couldn't make it. But I saw the photos and I was like, oh, I wish that I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
have
yeah.
been there, especially since Hotep for Hustle University and just all the work that he's doing with educators and with children, with students, but even for Chosen Media Kids, the Hustle Brothers has been, so whenever we've done a live show or a live experience with the kids, we get an episode of Hustle Brothers, which not only speaks to what we are doing with Chosen Media Kids, but then just also the support of people who are doing things. So you spend 5 minutes with Hotep and you already like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to take over the world. I'm ready
Yep. Yep.
to get things done. So
He will
I'm so
definitely
glad.
level you up.
Yeah.
100%. That is his gift.
Speaking of Chosen Media Kids and Techstars, I actually just got off, and I think because our show is on Tuesdays, and my for Techstars, which is an accelerator, pre-accelerator program that I am in with 20 women in business with their own startups in Atlanta, and it was a great conversation today. Like we went over funding because now we're all talking about how and who, and we're getting ready for demo day. So, as much as it is Thanksgiving week and happy early Thanksgiving to everyone
Mhm.
who is watching, it's demo day soon. So we're, getting our pitches and our stories and getting all of that together. But I would say that in the spirit of Thanksgiving, that I am really grateful for this program and very grateful for the mentors that we get a chance to connect with, because throughout, so each week we have a master class. We didn't have one this week, we doubled up last week, but we are getting access to this brain trust of people who have been there, done that. There's a process, you're not in Techstars to come out the same. So you go through the ringer of getting, your business together and getting a chance to really also connect. I think what I find extremely valuable is when we have these peer meetings that we get to connect with other founders, because being a founder is a very unique. It's not the IG founders, not that part where it's posting all this glamorous stuff. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of meetings and discovery calls and tweaking and hearing that doesn't make sense, but in your mind you're like, but I and just refining your vision. So that is what I would say I'm grateful for. And I'm sorry, T, because I didn't prep you for this, but what are you grateful for if you're looking back at, even if it's just a now thing?
You. And that wasn't a
Oh,
cheap answer, but no, Breakfast and Convos was by bar none one of the best decisions that I've made, not only from a content perspective, because Liberty only does high qualities. Like when I had my podcast was good, but it wasn't this. And so all jokes aside, I'm grateful for, my network and the people who have poured into me, not only their time, but their expertise, their love, their uplift. Um, it's a lonely road being a starter, not starter, but founder, and trying to start any initiative. And um, eh, there have been several times when I have appreciated just a text more than my vocabulary can express. Just a hey T, I was thinking about you. Hope all is well. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to look good on paper and to sound good on mic, and another thing, it's quite another to actually do the work.
right.
And for for as good as I look on paper, and for as much as I have accomplished, and I have accomplished quite a bit, without my network, I know that I could not have done half of it without, I mean, half of the things. I mean, take this for example. This is your idea. I mean, this is your baby, and you just allow me to hitch my caboose to your train, for which I'm very, very thankful. So the folks who thought it was not robbery to pour into me, to uplift me, to drag me across the finish line, kicking and screaming, because that's also a part of being in an accelerator, is
So
being
true.
pushed when you don't want to be pushed, being told you're great when you don't feel great. That's all part of it too, because I've done my fair share of them as well. And that whole process. I mean, even the event that I'm planning in spring break, I met the lady who has the space in the mall through the early risers cohort that I did last year. So
Mm.
it's just my
Isn't
network
that
wasn't
something
training for
like,
nothing.
James, first of all, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for just being you. And
Oh,
what I mean by
appreciate that.
that is like when you come, when T shows up, T shows up. Like I said before. And he talks about James Oliver with the Parentpreneur Foundation. He talks about that, of the power of relationships. And I'm like, oh, wait, just that giving that give first model. I know that goes back to Techstars, but the power of relationships in your network. Joey Womack, he likewise with Goody Nation speaks about that as well. So if you're watching, this was just our commercial break for founders and for really everyone out there. If you are trying to take your vision or go to that next level, like look, Issa Rae says that, look, but to your left and to your right, because these people are trying to ride with you. So there was again, sound effects, season 3, because we're coming to the end of
Yep.
season 2. So season 3, sound effects.
That was it.
Right. Get some violins going there. But let's dive into these predictions for
So speaking about
2022.
riding waves and riding
Yes.
with things, so we're going to talk about things that we think, marketing trends that got accelerated through the pandemic that we think will continue, and things that we think won't, maybe won't so much. And for mine, this trend was already well established, but the pandemic just threw a rocket fuel on it. So my number one is streaming, right? Streaming video content. Now, there's this term in the industry called the streaming wars, because everybody is launching a plus something. So you have Disney Plus, you have Paramount Plus, you have Peacock, and all of these other things. And traditional media was getting into the streaming game already. That was a very well established trend, but the pandemic just threw rocket fuel on it. Disney hit the upper limit of its 5-year projections, and I want to say, quote me on, fact check me on this, Liberty, but I want to say 10 months. They hit I'm gonna say that again. They hit the top end of their 5-year projection in 10 months or a year, something like that. They absolutely ran through it. Now, to be fair, I think Disney Plus specifically would have killed it anyway, but there's no denying the fact that the 4 stay-at-home orders, and everything that helped push Disney and streaming as a whole in a way that they otherwise would not have enjoyed. And so, that's my number one. I definitely think streaming is going to continue to win. Um, how about
I
yourself?
I'm gonna on that streaming. I think that it will win. I think what we are going to see, and this will go into my number one a little bit, but in response to yours, is that we are seeing some, subscriber growth. I mean, subscribers, kind of pulling back. Like as we see these giants continuing to jump into the game, and with all of these options that are out there, it's going to be like, well, there's going to be some churn. So I
Hmm.
think I'm not going to call it all the way a loser, because I don't think it'll be a loss, but it will be a hit. It will be a hit to some of these bigger ones. And Paramount, that's a part of people's vocabulary right now, but I'm like, oh yeah, there's another player,
Hmm.
so there's just so much choice right now. I think that and now going into my number one is that I really do think that a loser will be going the other way, is just content, the quality of the content that we're seeing now. And what I mean by that is, like, sure, everyone does not have to have Hollywood type of content, but people are going to now look at you sideways if you are just like the authenticity behind the content that you're
Hmm.
creating. So for creators, there's some folks that could just sit in their car and create content, but their content, what they're saying, the substance and the value that they're giving, that is what people are going to be paying attention more to. So this goes both for the creator economy, but it also matters from a B2B, a B2C perspective of the content creation process, the kind of content that you're giving out to your audience. The what they say about things like the Zoom fatigue and all of those elements. This is where, well, fatigue happens because your Zooms aren't interesting. They
Yeah,
aren't
it's not it.
engaging.
It's not it. That's
It's not,
what it is.
people are coming in and out of, oh, mute yourself. Like, those are the things that cause Zoom fatigue. Likewise, poor quality content, or content that is just, you know, people are replicating or copying other people, and it's just there's no
Mhm.
quality in that. Like, yeah, that's going to be a big loser. We're going to see a better way to say it is a parting of the waves,
Yeah,
where it's okay, this is the creme of the creme, here's the cream of the crop, and then here are the folks that are, and it's not to say that you can't get started and have those missteps, but you there better be a shift in it at some point, and it's going to become more difficult. That's
absolutely. The cream will always rise to the top, as
yeah.
it were. My number two, and we talked about this. We had a great guest earlier in the season. So go back and watch our replays. But esports, I definitely think esports will continue to win, because of that, again, already existing, well established trend, but got accelerated in the pandemic because you're home, you can't go anywhere. And so, what are you going to do? You're going to play video games. And something that I do on occasion, I don't watch it as much, but I will watch somebody else play a video game because they have what are called story mode missions. And there are a few YouTube channels that I follow. One is Gamers Little Playground. So shout out to Gamers Little Playground. They'll play the story mission mode of whatever game, and then they'll export it and string it all together. And that's like an actual movie. Like you can watch like a whole 90-minute movie of the story mode on some of these games. And so at esports is 100% going to continue to win. Like I don't have the stat in turn on the top of my head in terms of the actual numbers, but I can say that esports is bigger than professional sports and movies combined. If memory serves, I want to say it's like $180 billion. Now, and again, that's all professional sports. That's MLB, NFL, NBA, all of the professional sports and movies combined. Esports is bigger than that.
And
Okay.
I'm trying to
So,
pull it up. It's right. Okay, so just as a side note, going back to some tips we've shared in other episodes of SEO, I was trying to quickly get in like esports bigger than, and instantly it came up then sports. You
mhm,
know, so I'm about to give that to you. There was another stat that I just saw of just the that to 26.6 million people, you know, that's up from 2020 to 2021. So yes, we are going to see that continued acceleration in that space. Funny story, just as a caveat, my sister sent sister-in-law, she sent a in our family chat, where she said, all right, so my niece wants a Nintendo Switch. Wait a minute. Like, in my day, books, clothes. Nah, so
mhm.
are you all coming in on this on this Nintendo
Yep.
Switch? So it is real. It is real.
Yeah. Absolutely. And shows no signs, none whatsoever of slowing down. But what I do think is going to slow down and have a not so great 2020 is, and this is where the sparks are about to fly that we promised you at the beginning of the episode. I don't see meal delivery continuing to win. Because let's be
I was
honest,
gonna say
right?
you got to break that
Meal
down. You got to
Yeah,
break that
meal
down.
delivery, they came up big in the pandemic because if you were an older demographic and a high risk demographic, like so you were 50 plus, you had to have your food brought to you, and or you could die, right? Like,
Right.
and who wants to risk their life over some red lobster? That being said, the experience isn't always the best. If you're talking about a little bit better sit down meal like a red lobster or something like that, or some Applebee's or something like that, by the time you get the food is soggy. And if you got something fried, the fried shrimp ain't crispy no more, and it's not the best experience. And plus, older people like my aunt, because I was living with my aunt at the time, I'm speaking from experience, they can't really eat fast food like that
Right.
because their constitutions, they get constipated, and it's like they can't eat fast food like that no more. So they need that sit down restaurant thing. And for those who follow the space, Uber and Lyft, they were struggling to eke out profitability anyway. they lose billions of dollars quarter over quarter. They grow fast and furious, but they're not profitable. And so they were already unsustainable. And then you add meal delivery to it. Like meal delivery was growing as the ride hailing sort of trailed off, but
Right.
I don't see meal delivery being around in the long term, because as things open up, people get to go back out. And plus it wasn't, I did DoorDash a few times. It's good, but I don't see meal delivery continuing to win.
And so, and you said it, but just to highlight, because I don't want them to come for you in the comments, that meal delivery, looking at it from a growth
And I ain't
perspective.
scared for the reason, like in my Bernie Mac voice, I ain't scared of none of y'all. So come
You
on
did
in
that
these
really
comments.
well.
But
I didn't
yeah,
know you
I
could do
don't
Bernie
think
Mac.
it's not gonna die. It's not gonna go
Okay.
away. But that just supercharged growth, that pandemic bump, as it were, that's not gonna stick around in the same way that bump will stick around for esports and streaming, in my opinion.
Okay, so I will agree with you 100% that just the growth of that space, I agree wholeheartedly. However, I think and this leads into my number two, is I think what it's done is a lot of restaurants and companies that weren't looking at, like, meal delivery was not a big thing, like whether they were DoorDash or not, because that's a cost for them to be on those platforms, not just a cost from marketing or from the cost of using it, but also the cost of the infrastructure that they now need to add into their workflow for that. But what I see is that local, we're going to see that rise. So I kind of disagree that, like, the those platforms from them having, like, getting tongue tied here. I disagree that they will. No, sorry. I agree that, yes, that we'll see the slow growth, but I see that it will translate in more local. Like, we're going to see someone else pop up who will be able to cater possibly even better from a local perspective. I think that there's going to be a greater emphasis on local, whether that be local content, whether that be local, like all these states, state agencies, provinces, everyone pouring into helping the local economy. I think that's a trend that we're going to see. And how does that impact marketing? Like, these general messages that go out and that people can get away with. I don't think we're going to be able to get away with that in the coming years. Like, people are looking for, like, do you really care? And
Hmm.
you showing that you care, that comes out in how you address, and it doesn't have to be all, but your key audiences, your key markets. So I think that local is something that that's going to continue to accelerate. That's going to be a winner, um from a big picture in 2022.
I tend to agree
Hmm.
because, Amazon, love them like I do. They are known as the mall killer, right? Because they have played that role. They've killed off a number of malls. And retail aside, going to the mall, at least when I was younger, was an experience. It was a
Right.
shared experience. It was
Right.
communal. You met people at the mall and you mingled and you loitered and you were a kid. I mean, you did kid stuff at the mall. And now with everything, with this endless stream of cardboard boxes lining up on your doorstep, you don't have to go to the mall anymore. And so I think that, going back to what we said at the beginning, at the end of the day, we are social creatures and we do like to see each other. There are some of us who are more social than others. But yeah, the focus on local and the focus on, okay, how do we keep this municipality going? How do we keep this province going? Because we can't just keep sending all of our money to Walmart. We can't just keep sending all of our money to Amazon, because if we do that, we don't have enough to keep it going.
Right.
So
But
I
then
agree.
what that
I definitely tend to agree.
then goes to, we've spoken, I feel like, almost almost every episode, at least. What are we at? We're at 207 right now.
Hmm.
So from 204 on, at some point in time, we've been talking about live stream shopping. That is something that is going to continue to soar. We've
Hmm.
just started this month of November We've had some of the big players coming out with their live stream influencer, like the pairing of those two together, where it's been Pinterest with Pinterest TV. YouTube has come out with their live stream shopping side of it. So that is something that we'll see accelerate and we'll see grow. If you want to ask me about 2023 with that trend, I could, I could go there.
Man,
But for
QVC for the win. That's
yeah,
all I got to say. Because like I said, QVC been doing this. Now it's just going digital, and so it's tried
digital
and
and
true.
social
Yeah.
from like the social media, because that's
Mhm.
what makes this work, right? Is
Right.
because we can QVC, what that was like in your home, and it that communication. But this is, everybody on said platform or in the comments, just like that community. Because community, if we want to throw another one in, that's
Mhm.
something that was accelerated during
Yeah.
during the pandemic, as people were looking, even though we were social distanced, even though we were home, but people still wanted and hungered for, even those folks that like to stay alone. There's still a need for community.
Yeah, yeah,
Introverts, that's the
and
word I
which
was looking
brings
for.
me to my last loser, because I had two winners for you, and this is my last loser.
Okay.
I think that home fitness is going to hit the skids in a big way, specifically Peloton, because not only did Peloton win so much that they could not deliver, like I think it was like 18-month backlog on a Peloton at one point or something like that. They could not fill the orders fast enough. As we've said, as sort of a trend throughout this episode, humans are social creatures.
Right.
And once you can go to the gym and not die, people are going to want to exercise again together. And let's keep it a band. I mean, part of exercising was being able to show off for other people. You may or may not be trying to attract or woo. So men will get in there and we'll injure ourselves because we're lifting something we know we ain't got no business lift. But Liberty look at some, and because I want her to see my muscles ripple, and
Right.
I'm giving Liberty the gun show. And the reverse is also true. They doing those squats real nice and making it pop. So it's like that's human nature, right? That's not going anywhere. So again, if you are actually committed to fitness and health and well-being, I because I have weights in the next room and all that good stuff, and I exercise. But if I have the option to go to the gym versus be by myself, with the exception of it's like 10 degrees outside, because stereotypes are ugly things, but there's a grain of truth in all of them, and I do not like the cold. I'm not going out to the gym if it's snow on the ground, but other
Right.
than that, I almost always will pick a gym over a medicine ball and some bands in my own house. So I think home fitness and Mirror and Peloton and all of those other home fitness companies, I think they're going to have a rough 2022.
Mm. We need to, one, this is on our platform, so Twitter, LinkedIn, and then also YouTube. Like, we need to have this link handy, for the end of next year. While that was, I will say that you shocked me when you said, that from that fitness space, especially since I have a lot of friends with Peloton bikes, and what I see them possibly doing is fractioning off into some other spaces, because for them to keep ground. What I do believe is going to, while you're calling them, that's going to be a loss on them, that we'll see going back to this local. Like, for myself, I am part of a group training, and that is a trainer that we know, and so we've built community around that. And a lot of fitness professionals during COVID, they went digital. So that's where that trend, I see the opposite happening, is that the local people, the influencers, the fitness influencers, that will continue to grow. Now, it's not everyone can't do it. Again, it goes back to the whole idea of the quality and the cream of the crop. So that's where I would say, I guess I had more winners than I did losers. Oh, we
You're
we have
nice.
to.
You're far nicer than I am. I'm not that nice. I'm kind-hearted, but I'm not nice.
Right, right. Well, we will wrap with this one, of that we had an honorable mention for,
Mhm.
and that privacy, like, not necessarily a winner or a loser, or it really could go both ways, of like losers on the wrong side of it, and those that are just not taking it seriously. The laws that are about to come on, I really wish that we had time in this season to bring back some of our people from season 1 that really touched on privacy. But that's something, we'll say it like
Mhm.
this, something to watch for. Like if you're
Absolutely.
not paying attention to privacy, yeah, let this be the warning shot.
Yeah, for sure. Because like Meta or ex Facebook or whatever you want to call them, they did not rebrand, or I should say, they did not rebrand solely because of the metaverse. They rebranded because they're in the midst of a firestorm, which has seemingly been brewing for several years. Although this latest expose was particularly damning, and privacy is at the crux of all of it, because the only way that Facebook was able to, anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but yes, it's very, very important. Lawmakers have taken note, they've taken notice, and it's not just Facebook, it's also Google, and like
That whole
privacy is
chart,
a
yeah.
big topic. It's a big, big topic. So definitely that is going nowhere in
Yeah.
2022.
And this last one I'll say, I know I said privacy honorable mention, but I'm looking at this one prediction wise as a winner and could take a loss, is this NFT
Hmm.
space. And that we're seeing this rising trend, but there's bound to be a bubble. And whether that bubble be like in the middle, and I think we're still early. This is like Clubhouse was last year.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
for those who
it,
don't know, NFT stands for
thank you.
non-fungible tokens.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that later. So just a little I see what you did there, Liberty. I see what you did there. Just a little foreshadowing, but yeah, non-fungible tokens, definitely a space to watch.
Yeah, just like this time last year, Clubhouse was on that upward trajectory. It took them too long, though, for them to really get into that space of the monetization. And they got the influencers, they got the creators. Everybody gets the creators early because creators see things, they're trendsetters. But now I'm hearing Clubhouse having a resurgence. I feel like this should have been an hour show, because I'm also like, but wait, we didn't get to talk about audio. But yes, NFTs arise, and I think we're gonna get to that mountaintop. And again, it could be because we see things ahead, so it's really another year before. But I'm just putting it out there. I'm just
And
I'm
this
just
is
putting it
why
out
you
there.
rock with Liberty and I for breakfast and convos, because we see things, we bring
Yep.
it to you, we have conversations that you may not otherwise have, and we are awesome. I mean that's
What a way to end the show. What we want to hear from you as we wrap is, what do you think? Do you agree with our hits and our misses for 2022? What didn't we mention that you feel like, hey y'all, you totally missed on this part? Leave that in the comments below. We might come back and
Mhm.
address some of that next week. But thank you so much for tuning in, T. Another great show, all marketing, content, and digital entertainment.
Yes, yes, indeed. Signing off, I am T. Adeola, digital marketing expert.
And I am Liberty White. You want to head over and jump onto our mailing list so that you can get more behind the scenes and tips. And we will catch you next week. Thanks for watching.